we're going to bring in our next guest, Josh Long, Bottleneck Breakthrough Group, bottleneckbreakthroughgroup.com. And Josh, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Michael. Glad to be here.
All right, give us a little background on you, your company, and then I really want to step into why we should focus on fast growth and what your company does to get people there.
Yeah, so out of grad school, had a software company, had all the failures of getting the proof of concept done, and ended up working with a guy named Chet Holmes I looked up to as a great consultant, and he ended up partnering with Tony Robbins while we were working together, and I got to see a lot of companies come across our service line of consulting and help them work through growth, and went out on my own and have been helping companies since, and found that focusing on bottlenecks was just a very simple, easy approach that small business owners understood. And when we fix the root cause, it unlocks growth. So it's just the most reliable, sustainable method I've found, and came up with a book for it called Bottleneck Breakthrough, coming out on Amazon on November 1st, and outlining the process and giving small business owners the roadmap to find and fix their own bottlenecks to unlock more growth.
All right. Now, most people are conditioned to think that 10% of your growth rate is worthwhile. You have something different about that process.
Yeah, so I think growth actually occurs in fits and spurts, and we see that in stocks. Very few stocks grow in a very stable, linear fashion. They have big swings, and I think small businesses have the same. I've seen that pattern work over and over, and they end up running into revenue plateaus that they get stuck at. And so you may be stuck at a revenue plateau and getting 5 to 10% growth that is just clipping along because the industry you're in is all the boats are rising with the rising tide. But actual sustainable growth, I find, happens in fits and spurts, usually 30 to 50 to 60% a year. And then it consolidates and you hit another revenue plateau and stabilize, and it goes on like that.
Give me a for instance, like on the company you worked with that would fit the conversation for this point.
Yeah, a great example. I had a client, they were a mountain guide school, an alternative education program that had a 4-year program for people to become certified mountain guides all over the world. And they had been in business for 8 years, kept running into the $1 million ceiling. It's a very common ceiling for small business owners. The owner can run it all on their own with a couple staff up to $1 million, but after that, some more management sophistication comes into play. And so they had run into the $1 million mark and bounced back against it for 3 years in a row, hired me. We get in and we look, and their biggest bottleneck was their admissions process. And so looking at it with the owner and all the time he spent on it, we formalized it, added some more hoops for applicants to jump through, charged a fee, freed up a bunch of time by the owner and his sales staff, and increased their close rate significantly. And so that one step of creating a worthwhile, sophisticated application process increased their close rate, increased their revenue from it, and also saved a ton of time. Then we moved on to their lead gen source. They were on Google AdWords. We got it over to Facebook, ended up saving them about 600%, or increasing their lead flow 600%, went from about $29.85 a lead down to about $5 a lead, same quality. Then the third piece was monkeying with their pricing model. And those three things we accomplished in 60 days. They grew, I think it was 70-something%. The next year went from $785,000 to $1.35 million. And then the next year from $1.35 million to $2.4 million.
What is some of the first things that an owner should recognize, and that this is where I need outside help, and they have to get you involved in this? What are some of the telltale signals that maybe they don't even know that there's a problem?
Yeah, no, it's a really great question, and I'm happy to. Thanks for teeing me up so easily. But really, it's that you're running into revenue plateaus. You just keep hitting the same revenue, and you're not getting past it. You're doing a lot of different things. You're trying a lot of new ideas. You're chasing new fads, new shinies, thinking, oh, well, if we do Facebook Messenger bots, that'll solve our lead gen or conversion problem. Or, oh, we have turnover and we just need to hire a headhunter because that'll save me time in recruiting. It's just when you're facing a revenue plateau, stagnating revenue, and it doesn't matter what you're doing to get past it, it's not working. You've got a deeper root issue, and that's what I help companies find and fix all day long.
All right, we got about a minute left in this segment. Do you find that there is a common thread? I mean, we talked about this just a second ago, but I want to drill down a little bit more. A common thread about when companies get stuck, the same bottlenecks, or you find that it's just all over the board?
Yeah, so it's a common thread based on their revenue plateau.
Okay.
So, like I said, $1 million is the most common for small businesses, and at that point, the bottleneck is lack of owner time and lack of management in the back office. So I always recommend finding somebody that can become your little Napoleon, that COO that's going to crack the whip, make sure quality control is there in fulfillment so that the owner can continue to go out and win business, because that's what great entrepreneurs do is they land deals, they go out and kill it and bring it home for everybody else to be fed.
Okay, so that's owner time is what you meant. Being able to, for the owner to go close the deals, because they're generally the best salesman in the company.
Yep. Yeah, and the owner can do that easily up until about $10 million in revenue, building a better infrastructure. Then you got to get more vertical, specialized sales teams and marketing and fulfillment. But for most businesses, getting to $10 million is all they'd ever need to do to have a very profitable, sellable business.
Got it. Let's Josh, let's take a break right now. We'll come back, and I've got more questions for you on the other side.
Great.
Right? All right, Josh Long, Bottleneck Breakthrough Group, bottleneckbreakthrough.com. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. You've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Segment is brought to you by Tycon Partners. We'll be right back. Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, and we've got Josh Long, Bottleneck Breakthrough Group, bottleneckbreakthrough.com. All right, Josh, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. All right, next question I have for you. We're talking about having companies break through to the next level of earning and growth and expansion. But, why don't business owners fix their own bottlenecks naturally? What's stopping them from doing that just as a natural course of business?
Yeah, I think it's the Peter principle comes to mind of developing to the limit of your abilities. And we see all businesses tap out at some point. You guys were just talking about Amazon and Jeff Bezos and what he's built there. We can continue to see him innovate and grow beyond bottleneck after bottleneck. And I think business owners often get to a point of comfort and or a point of they're hitting their limits on ability, and they don't recognize that they go through solving bottlenecks as a natural skill to get to where they're at now, but it's the point where they just run out of energy, ideas, skill, ability, and they need an outside source. I think Einstein said it best, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but essentially that we can't solve the problems we have today with the thinking that created them, because the thinking that created them created them. So
right.
We have to have some sort of outside input to get past these plateaus.
Okay, so it's really boils down to recognizing that we have a bottleneck. To solve this bottleneck, we may have to reduce our ego, deal with our ego, and bring in somebody else that we think could be smarter than us and take it to the next level. It's about
and not to be self-serving. It doesn't have to be a consultant. I mean, there are all sorts of resources to help business owners get outside of their own head and start looking at their problems from different perspectives.
Do you, when you go into that, I mean, because, I built this baby, it's got to this point, and, and I want it to grow, I should be smart enough to make it grow. Do you find that that's kind of a tough wrestling match with the owner of the company?
Yeah, about half of business owners struggle with that.
Yeah.
I think that it's a fine balance, because they have taken all the risk, they've done all the effort, they've gotten the success of sustainability, and it takes a lot of self-awareness and humility, I'd say, to be willing to take somebody else's input.
Well, and then there's always the risk that if you bring somebody in that you trust to take you to the next level, that they're just going to do rape, pillage, and plunder. When
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, there's no end in sight of the amount of service providers out there and advertising channels that will just sell a business owner a bill of goods to get the fee. And so to me, that's where the bottleneck breakthrough approach reduces the amount of risk and capital as much as possible, because I never come in and say, oh, you need to revamp your whole website for a $100,000 e-commerce platform. It's like, let's go back to the Amazon example earlier, that let's put it on Amazon. Can you even sell it through Amazon before we go through and revamp your whole platform and product listings? So it's doing small tests, and I talk about that in chapter 3 in the book, about optimization and reducing risk and testing things, testing hypotheses before you put a bunch of money and energy after something.
All right. Well, we've got a minute or two left in the segment. Talk about some of the commonalities, the common bottlenecks that you see that you're fixing right now or you fixed in the past.
Yeah. So like I said, at the $1 million mark, it's helping develop some management infrastructure, and management in the lightest sense, that you put somebody responsible for fulfillment and quality control that you're meeting with on a regular basis, so that you're not having to stay there as the owner and deal with all of the frontline staff. The other one that I really love spending time on is qualifying in the sales process. Most of my clients are B2B, business-to-business providers. They sell something well over 5 to 10 grand in their solution, and so there's more complexity to the sale. And in that sales process, the qualification of leads or opportunities to pursue there's so much room for improvement and so many ways to optimize it to get outsized returns. The example I did of the mountain guide school, it was on qualifying leads, making them jump through the hoops. Had another client, a civil engineering firm. It was going after the right request for proposals, RFPs and RFQs, and beefing up their proposal process. We took that from their win rate was about 7.5% to 72%, and brought in about $3.3 million in revenue from just improving their proposal process. So everything lives and dies by the close in business. Without closing deals, you have no business.
Right.
So I really like spending time in the qualification and closing process.
When companies are coming to you now, we do a little thing here. Just look through the different types of companies that private equity is leaning towards, and B2B comes to the top of the list right now.
Yep.
Are you seeing the same type of customer a movement in customer types of companies coming to you? I'm sorry, I'm stumbling on myself. It's
okay.
You know what I mean?
I understand where you're going. Yeah. It's funny, really, for a guy like me working with companies. It's the owner's mindset is the commonality. There's companies all over the place in every industry and every market that have room to grow and be optimized and get outsized returns for their owners, and that's who I like working with. But yeah, I think B2B in the private equity world is very, very in vogue right now, and there's a lot of leverage that they can get out of them.
I would think that that's where you're going to find most of the breakthroughs when it comes to delivery of product and service. That's disruptive.
Yeah, exactly. And the B2C simple retail, like we've referenced so many times, is Amazon really is the behemoth to deal with there, and it's really bloody market to fight in. So the outsized returns can definitely come in the B2B service markets.
Got it. All right, we've got to run right now, but I want to tell you that I appreciate you coming on, and I may call you after.
Yeah, this is fun. My pleasure. Great questions. I hope it's of value for your audience. And like I said, the book's coming out on Amazon November 1st, Bottleneck Breakthrough, and it'll provide the roadmap for a lot of your listeners to help.
I'm sure it will
increase their valuations and increase their revenue.
At very least, me too.
What's that?
At very least, me also.
My pleasure.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're doing, as we move forward too, because we're expanding.
Yeah, I'd love to take this offline and help, and I think it's a great space.
We'll do it. Thanks, Josh. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Michael.
All right. Josh Long, he is the CEO of Bottleneck Breakthrough Group. and bottleneckbreakthrough.com. Segment brought to you by thevitaminpatch.com.